Hello, Lisa here. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if this is your first time stopping by. Today we are going to be doing deck roulette. So I am changing the series a bit, but if you're new to the series, this is a series where I will spin a wheel that has all of my tarot decks and another wheel that has all of my oracle decks, and we're gonna throw together a combo of decks. And then we're gonna do a sample reading with that combo and see how it works. But in October, I released a video all about my solo role-playing games, and one of the ones that I had gotten in is this one called Auspex. And in this, you're essentially playing a character who is doing readings for other people. And I thought this might make a fun incorporation with this series. So we're gonna jump in, do a little bit of this, and do a little bit of this. It's gonna be a little bit of fun. So at least I hope so. So if that sounds interesting to you, then stay tuned. We are going to be jumping into it. Before we do, quick reminder that I am also a tarot deck creator and an author. I will throw a graphic up on the screen where you can find my work out in the world. I am so excited about everything that I have created, and there's more in the works. You're going to get a little sneak peek about one of those in the works projects actually today, so stay tuned. Let's just get into it. Okay, I keep saying let's get into it and then I don't get into it. So let me set the wheel aside for a minute and let's sort of set the scene. So together we're going to read the introduction to this game, Auspex. It comes in like a little sort of zine. You can also get it just as a digital download. So here is the introduction. The world is changing, unseen except by those with eyes like yours, those with an eye for the future. A great divergence is happening and you are buoyed in the waves of the shifting tides. You are about to be visited by those who will bring about the change in ways both big and small, with questions about the uneasiness they currently feel. You are their guide. Introduction. An outcast, but with a gift those who wish you ill desire above all else, the gift of foresight. Your power upholds an uneasy balance, a strained alliance, and the world is unaware of the changes to come, but you are. The world is about to change, about to end, literally or figuratively. An end of an era or an end of existence as we know it. You are the only one who can foresee it. You are the only one who can divert the paths of fate if you so choose to. There are only 7 days until the world will become something unrecognizable. Each day, someone new will come seeking their future, fortune, or an answer from the beyond. Each individual's future entangled with the future of the new world. As your visitors ask their questions, the cards will offer up their answers. Cards will never lie. You, on the other hand, are free to lie at your own discretion. Give them what they want, steer them down a brighter path, or lean into the chaos of the shifting world. You will guide this world to its end and usher in the birth of a new one. So I did a little bit of prep so that we could get into this, but essentially the way that the play will flow is that we'll have different days, and on each day we'll draw a major arcana card for our visitor and a minor arcana card for the question. And then we will pick a spread. There's a bunch of spreads in the back of the book, which we'll select based on the question and what spread feels right. I will incorporate the oracle deck because the whole point of deck roulette is we're reading with a combo. So I'll be mixing and matching between 2 decks to build that spread. Maybe messing with it a little. We'll see. And then you basically do the reading for that pretend person. And then make note of what you tell them. And then the final question is sort of what of their actions has unintended consequence, and will they live to see it? There's sort of things, but there's a note where you sort of make note of how it could potentially impact the change that's to come. So what I thought I would do before jumping in here is kind of create a bit of a character sheet where we could track everything and then start off with a world and a character so that we can just kind of jump into the fun part. So here is what I have brought with me. So I have this, this is just a astrology cheat card I have, but makes the perfect underneath for this kind of thing. So I built a character sheet. So deck roulette, a game of Auspex. So this little image, this is the sneak peek. Her name is actually Morel, and she is my high priestess in the Convocation of Witches Tarot. So I'm kind of stepping into Morel for this game, just to kind of have a character to imagine. So I threw her little picture in there. She's so cute. I don't know, hopefully you can see her really well. This is a print on my home printer, so but she's reading with the UJT. I mean, of course she is. Anyways, so Morel, in this world, she is 57, and the world that we're in, I decided to name Oreth. Oreth is a rugged land of rolling hills, deep forests, and scattered villages. People here live close to the land, farming, herding, and trading along old roads worn smooth by generations. Their homes are simple but solid, built of wood and stone, with smoke rising steadily from their chimneys. Life in Oreth is practical and hard-working, but there's something more to this place, something sacred. So you have to kind of choose like a change that's brewing. So here's what I did. In 7 days, a full solar eclipse is expected. It's been many ages since there has been a total eclipse. The last time in recorded history, the gods vanished, leaving their temples empty and their influence gone from the world. People whisper that this one may bring them back or take something else. So I tried to keep it simple because I've never played this game before and I don't know what we're going to do. And then I created a bit of a log where we could just quickly make note of the name or the major arcana card, or just a couple like quick notes about each visitor. And then I have sort of a recap of what ends up happening on the day of the eclipse, which we won't know till the end. So we're only going to play through one day each time I make one of these deck roulette videos. So I gave us extra, I just did this like full blank page for each day, and then a final thoughts page at the end so we can kind of track our progress. So today we will be on day 1. Where's my pen? Ah, here we go. So I also wanted to pick a deck for where we're going to pull. I wrote majors, but it meant, you know, majors and minors for the querents and the questions. So for this, I decided to pull in the Tarot of Echoes. I think this just has a fun vibe. So I feel like it's kind of got a bit of a timeless, could be old world, could be magical, could be not magical. It just kind of feels not too modern for this, I felt like. So I thought this would make a really fun deck to use for the prompts. So I'll have to separate the deck out in a minute, but I'm just going to make a note that I'm going to say cards. Cards are pulled from Tarot of Echoes. Okay, so that's the game, and we'll get into that once we choose our decks. But first, I'm going to just separate this into majors and minors. So I'm going to do that real quick, create 2 separate piles. And then I'll just keep this deck separated for our next game. So we have our majors, we have our minors. So we're going to give these a shuffle. Now you can't or you don't repeat. So once we draw cards, they will get essentially discarded from the game. So these are our minor arcana cards, which are going to represent the question we're going to pull today for day 1 in our land of Oreth as we prepare for the eclipse. So I'm just going to give these a bit of a shuffle. Okay. So these are just going to be sitting up here, and we'll deal with those in a bit. Now, let's see which tarot and oracle deck we're going to be using in roulette today. Okay. All right. So let's start off with the tarot deck. Okay. It looks like we're going to be working with the Craft Felt Tarot. And then let's see what we're going to be working with. Make sure it's shuffled for our oracle deck. Okay, it'll be the Crafted Felt Tarot and the Woodland Wardens. All right, let me put that away and let me grab those. So here is the Crafted Felt, or the Craft Felt Tarot, and then this is Woodland Wardens. I would not have normally put these two together, but I believe they both read pretty well. We do have haiku, which could help us in our reading, so I'm going to keep that handy. And Woodland Wardens does also have a guidebook, but I think I'm going to not worry about that. I guess I'll keep it handy just in case. So I'll keep both guidebooks out in case we want to use those. Okay, so we have our decks, and when we turn them over visually, I mean, we are not very aligned. So one feels very much kind of tactile, and one feels more like pages in a storybook or something like that. So I almost feel like we might consider that when we decide which deck to put into which, like, say, spread position. One has sort of almost a lighter, more mundane feel, and one, like, if I was to say, like, this is the, when we think about the world of Oreth and the fact that the gods left, I might think this might have more of that spiritual component, and this might have more of that, I don't know, like, daily life component. Salt of the earth kind of thing. So we'll see. I don't know. That's kind of where my brain's going right now. But let's just set these aside, and we're going to see, first of all, who we're reading for. So let me pull a major arcana card from Tarot of Echoes. Ooh, of course, we have the Empress. It's so funny. When I was looking at this deck, I was like, I feel like the Empress literally looks like she is of the universe. So I don't know how that's going to, I will have to see who she is. So let's actually look her up. So in Auspex, you then go to the list to see who it is that's come to ask you a question. These are questions. Ah, here we go. So the Empress is a queen. So the queen in Oreth is coming to, or a queen. Is there only one? Yeah, there's only one. Okay, so a queen is going to come to us to ask a question. Yikes, we're starting off big. Okay, let's see what question she is going to ask. All right. We should give her a name. Let me think. We'll call her Marion. Queen Marion. Okay. And then we have the 9 of Wands. So let's see what our 9 of Wands question is. So we start off cups. Okay, Wands. 9. So the Queen is asking this. So she says, I've struggled, oh how I have struggled, but I finally see the light. My years of toiling for a better life feel like they are soon to be over. Please tell me, have I finally done enough? That is such an interesting question. Imagine a queen coming to sit at your table and telling you that she's just been busting her butt trying to make a better life. I think that she's actually, maybe she has a lot of like imposter syndrome as the queen, thinking that she's never doing enough for the people of Oreth. She's just always having to earn her worth. And she's really just like, have I finally done enough? Like, I don't know. And keeping in mind that everybody in this world is sort of sensing the unease of it, of this change coming, of this eclipse that's looming. So let me write her name down here. So our day 1 visitor is Queen Marion. So let's look at our spreads that are in here and see what might make a suitable one for this question. So there's 20 some odd spreads in the back here. Okay, this one sounds good. Let's do this one. So this one is called Broken Mirror. Even in the shards, you can see yourself, which I think that if she's dealing with imposter syndrome, she needs to be able to see herself. The positions are inner, the interior perspective, outer, the exterior perspective. Then we have the highest consideration and the basest want. The blood is the thing that connects, star is the aspiration, and earth is the return. So I think what I'm going to do for this is we're going to use the crafted felt for the more like mundane positions, like the exterior perspective, the basest want, earth, the return. So like we'll lay it out and then we'll go through it together. So let me get rid of these cards first. So what I'm going to do, we know we're dealing with the Empress. So I'm going to put these cards, because we've already used them, underneath like that. And then I'm just going to go, how am I going to separate these then? I guess I'll just keep them face up and then I'll be able to tell when I shuffle later. So I'll put the majors there, then I'll put the ribbon, then I'll put the minors, and then this will be ready for the next time we play. Okay. So card position 1 is inner, the interior perspective. That's going to be an oracle card. So I'm going to shuffle as we lay them down. It's kind of a circle. You know what? There are 6 positions. There's 7 positions. I'm just going to go 2 rows and I'm going to try to line them up. Okay. So for example, we start off with inner, the interior perspective. And for that, we're going to pull this oracle card and stick it in position number 1. Okay. Then we have outer, the exterior perspective. So there's a mirroring happening here. So I think I can lay it out. I'm just going to lay it out my way. I'm not going to follow the book because I'm a rebel like that. So we want her outer perspective. So this might be how other people see her versus how she sees herself kind of thing in these first couple cards. So that's her inner perspective. Then we have spirit, the higher consideration. Okay. All right. Now I will have obviously any decks I'm working with linked down below. The Tarot of Echoes, this is the indie version. It is coming out mass market, I believe US games. I just don't know when. Okay. And then we have inner, outer, spirit. Now this is flesh. So flesh is the basest want. We've got to remember to think about Oreth, the gods being missing, the fact that everybody is dreading this upcoming eclipse and like what is happening. And I'm going to lean into sort of the play and playfulness of this exercise as we go through here. Okay. Just making sure I have room. So we have inner, outer, spirit, flesh. Then we have blood, the thing that connects, and then star, the aspiration. So for this, I'm going to put blood up here. So blood is the thing that connects. I'm going to use crafted felt for that. Actually, I might do, no, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. So blood, the thing that connects. And then star, the aspiration. All right. So the aspiration for Queen Marion. And then our last position is earth, the return. Earth, the return. Okay. All right. So there's not any like expanded explanation for these positions. So we get to kind of like play with them how we want. So that's going to be the return. All right. So let's see how these decks function together. And so if, again, just to kind of remind you, if you missed my last deck roulette, the point of this is to sort of put different combinations of decks together from my collection and see how they work. And just to have a reason to sort of think outside the box in that regard. But that is kind of the punchline. So I want to just do more practice related videos on the channel and this kind of thing where we're doing like activities, we're kind of getting into it, getting into the meat of it, right? So if you enjoy this kind of thing, please let me know. Please do watch, comment, do all the things, because we're trying to retrain the YouTube algorithm to appreciate the kind of content that is not just like, ooh, pretty, buy this thing, right? We really want to train the algorithm. So help me train the algorithm. Appreciate you so much. All right, now let's carry on. So first off, she's kind of explained that she's been toiling and trying. She has that 9 of Wands, right? So she's been working really hard, or she perceives herself as somebody that's been working really hard, just trying to make Oreth a better place. And despite all of this work, she's got this impending eclipse and this sense of sort of impending doom kind of hovering over her. And she's asking, like, have I finally done enough? Am I finally good enough, essentially, to be the queen? And so this first card is inner. This is her interior perspective. And we have the spider and the passion flower. Creative ingenuity. Okay, so let's dig into the guidebook for this, because I definitely want to see if we get any, like, sort of inspiration from this. And this looks like it's card 2. Here's what it says. A spider represents a balance of light and dark. Cunning yet patient, they spin intricate webs that are both beautiful and deadly. The passion flower is a vining flower that has come to symbolize faith. It was named by 16th century Jesuit missionaries who associated the plant with the Passion of Christ. Its filaments represented the crown of thorns, its 10 petals, the 10 faithful apostles, and so on. So in the upright, you can solve your problems unconventionally and with cleverness. You need only exercise patience in order to fully appreciate the results of your labor. So my first thought with this is, and I'm going to try to make some notes as we go. My first thought with this is, actually, maybe I'll do it at the end. Okay, we'll make notes at the end, because otherwise I'll lose my place. With this web and this spider and these beautiful flowers, I kind of get the feeling that she knows deep down. So I'm reading for her, and I'm going to let her know, like, hey, it seems to me like you've been spinning webs. Yes, you have worked hard, but you've also used a lot of cunning and perhaps even spun a bit of a web, maybe some deception, to get where you are. There's been an element of trying to prove yourself, and so you're constantly overperforming. This feeling of like you're not good enough means that you feel like you need to put on an act or pretend you're better at things than you are, just so that you'll be accepted and so that people will respect you as the queen. So that's her inner, she's aware of that, like she knows that. And one of the things that is feeding her insecurity is her understanding that she hasn't always played fair, that she has sometimes cheated to get where she's get, or she's manipulated, or she's lied. And this is how she's ended up here. So yes, she's been cunning, but that hasn't always been a good thing. So now let's look at this Crafted Felt Tarot for the external perspective. Well, it's worked. So we have the Sun card, and my first gut feeling at this is like other people view you in a very positive light. She is a beloved queen. Others respect her and look up to her and feel like she's being really authentic. And this might be where some of her discord is coming from, because she feels like she's always having to prove herself, because she feels like she's going to get found out as a fraud. And to some degree, she has behaved fraudulently at times. That doesn't mean that's the whole of who she is. And it doesn't mean she's not worthy of being queen, but it certainly means that she is constantly feeling like not good enough. And sometimes what happens with imposter syndrome is it's fed by insecurities rooted in truth. And her truth is like, hey, I knew the right people, or I knew who to manipulate in order to move my way up the social ladder and become queen. But that doesn't mean that she doesn't have something good to offer. So this is just kind of like how she views herself versus how other people view her. So let's take a look now at Spirit. This is the higher consideration for her question. And we have the Chipmunk and Laurel. Success. So the higher consideration. Overall, regardless of how she views herself, regardless of how anyone else views her, this success tells us that she has made it genuinely. She has done the work, she's put in the effort, and she has gotten somewhere as a result. So this is card number 7. The Chipmunk and Laurel symbolize a new venture that will surely lead to success. Okay, the chipmunk often takes the road less traveled. Now the position here again is the higher consideration, so the big picture stuff. So it says the chipmunk often takes the road less traveled, finding hidden pathways and adventures along the way. The laurel is a symbol of victory. Of course, that's laurel. So we know laurel wreaths. This is a victory card. Used to crown the winners in the ancient Olympic Games. Together they tell us to take charge of our own destiny, carve our own path, and find success. This feels like a reminder that the only one preventing her from feeling fully successful in her role as queen is herself. There's not an external factor that's like, hey, you're terrible, what you do. This is all coming internally. And she's been offered the laurel wreath. She just needs to be willing to accept it. So when we're thinking about the big picture and whether she's done enough, we're leading towards a yes answer. Absolutely, she has earned her place there. She may have taken some shortcuts, but she has genuinely earned her success, because the big picture is this laurel chipmunk energy. So then we have flesh, the baser want. So what lies beneath this desire for success? Ah, the Page of Cups. She doesn't want to just be respected. She wants to be loved. I don't know if I would call that a baser want, but her more human want is to be loved. The Page of Cups is somebody who just wants to love and be loved. He wants connection, or she wants connection. And so to me, this reveals what the Queen is really looking for is relationship, maybe not only with her subjects, but with people. And perhaps this constant striving is because she's trying to not just be respected, but to be beloved. And that's sort of her baser want. That can lead her into some pretty dark places if she lets it, but that's a human desire, right? It makes sense. Then we have the star, or excuse me, blood, the thing that connects. So this is the thing that brings it kind of all together. The Nine of Cups. This is a card of contentedness, of wishes fulfilled. Well, we know she's already successful. So this tells us that she's moving in the right direction should she actually get comfortable in her own skin and comfortable in her role as queen, where she's moving towards a direction of actually being able to feel true contentment in her life. But that's going to be when she lets people into her heart and not just in this space of being only beloved as a ruler. She needs to connect with people on a human level, and that's what's going to lead her towards more contentedness. And then we have the star. This is the aspiration or the hope. The salamander and black pepper, inspiration comes through. I think in the context of Oreth and the gods being gone, perhaps one of the things that has her floundering is not feeling like she has that divine guidance that she maybe seeks. Inspiration in this case, I feel like, is that longing for spiritual leadership, for wanting to feel like she has somebody she can pour herself out to. Maybe that's what brought her to my table. She doesn't have a temple she can go pray in or God she can seek help from. So she comes to my table looking for answers to this like deep well of sort of emptiness within her that she's looking to fill with success as a queen, or looking to fill with actions and proving that she's good enough. So for this final card, I'm going to dip into the haiku, I think. We'll see what we feel. But this is Earth. This is the return. To me, this is like the bringing it all together moment. And we have the Four of Cups. This is ultimately what her issue is. Her issue isn't so much being the queen and the responsibilities that come with that. Her issue is that she is blocking her heart from anything new connection-wise, human connection-wise, despite the fact that that's ultimately what's going to lead her to her greatest happiness, is opening herself to love, not just being beloved of the people, but human connection. And while she remains walled off, she's closing herself off to those opportunities. It's being offered to her. There is somebody in her periphery that has a love interest in her, or that it loves her as a human, or is drawn to her as a human, not just as the queen, and she's not seeing them. She's overlooking that opportunity, that emotional opportunity. Let's see what the haiku says, just out of curiosity, for the Four of Cups. All input on hold, the heart needs a moment to process what's here. That's actually kind of a nice haiku. I sound surprised, but I like the haikus in here. So I don't mean to be surprised. I just mean it's like not where I would have taken it necessarily, but I like that. So, okay. Let's pause the game for a second and like reading for Queen Marian for a moment, and then we'll parse that out. But first, just talk about how these felt to read together. So I didn't actually feel like they were disjointed. Obviously, visually, they're completely different on the table, but Woodland Wardens reads really well in a kind of intuitive way. I didn't feel like I needed to go to the guidebook. I did, but like a lot of it makes a lot of sense. We have a web here, so there's an intuitive thing to riff on there. We have the laurel for victory, which we're familiar with from cards like the Six of Wands and the Tarot. Black pepper and the salamander here. The salamander makes me think a little bit of that like fire spirit realm, and the pepper is like this energizing element. So it's this like inspiration to me. It made me think of this like almost like when you get a spiritual download, which is why I took it there in the reading. The crafted felt is just adorable and fun to read. So it's very simple. Like it's very evocative. The imagery is clear. You don't have to like dig through the details to figure out what the image is showing you. So that makes it really easy to work with. And I really like both of these decks a lot. So this was a fun opportunity for me to play with them both. Again, I would never think to pair them. And I think in the future, I don't think I would pair them, but they both function well enough that they were able to adapt to this scenario, which I appreciate very, very, very much. So if you're playing along with me, consider what and how you would read this scenario or this set of cards specifically for Queen Marian. Or if you'd prefer, pull your own cards from your own, like do a little random pick of a tarot and oracle from your own collection and fill in the spaces. I'll read you again the card positions so that you have them if you want to play along, like if you want to pause and see, okay, let me pull my own cards and see what answers I get. So the card positions here for the Broken Mirror spread are inner, the interior perspective, which I chose to use oracle for, Outer, the exterior perspective, which I chose to use tarot for. Spirit, the higher consideration. Flesh, the baser want, or the basest want. Blood, the thing that connects. Star, the aspiration. And Earth, the return, which I sort of used as more like the wrap up or like the world, like where's the beginning and end of this particular journey. So now I'm going to make some notes and then I'll come back and kind of sum up for you. I've made some notes and now we continue with the game and then we'll do a bit of a wrap up here. So if you want to try to read my chicken scratch, you're more than welcome, but don't worry, I'm going to recap. So the way that this game works is that you get your person, so we have Queen Marian, you get your question, you do the reading, you interpret it, right? And then you write down what you tell them. So if I was to, instead, because I wouldn't necessarily show my work through the entire thing. So here's the advice I give her based on this whole reading we did. I'm going to say, as a queen, you've already succeeded. You've won the hearts and respect of your subjects. Now it is important to turn your attention to romance or spiritual devotion or seeking so you can feel truly fulfilled. And so with the gods gone, the next step actually is that we write, what did they do? How did they take this advice and what did they do and what sort of consequences might it have? So I'm going to say, heeding my advice, I'll say, though not as intended, not as I intended. The queen abandoned her responsibilities for a torrid love affair. Okay, I'm just going to, let's see, I'm going to roll a dice for this. I'm going to roll a dice to get a number for one of the other major arcana. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to roll a d20. I'm going to say that she had a love affair with one of the other people that might come to us with a question, right? So I'm going to roll a d20, and we may or may not encounter this person. So actually, I'm going to roll my unicorn die. Okay, so how I'm going to do the numbering is, she's the Empress, so she's number 3. We can't obviously roll her. So there's 20 on the die. We're not going to count the Fool. So 1 through 21. But everything's going to shift a number up after the Empress. So if I roll a 3, that would actually be the Emperor. If I roll a 4, that'd actually be the Hierophant. Do you follow? Okay, so anyway, here's what we got. We rolled a 19, which would normally be the Sun, but it's going to be Judgment because everything's pushed forward 1. So that's Judgment. So who does it say Judgment is in here? Look at me, just causing all kinds of problems. Okay, so Judgment is a warlord. Oh my God. Well, okay. With a warlord, I'm going to make a note, Judgment, sending society into some chaos. Crime becomes rampant, and the people feel abandoned by their queen. So the idea is that as we do these readings each day, we'll encounter a different character, we'll give them a different reading to answer their specific question, and then how they interpret that advice, and this is where we're just getting creative and having fun and telling a story, how they interpret that advice will kind of impact how the world changes over the 7 days while we wait for this eclipse to come. And so what happens during the eclipse will be affected by all these goings on. So now I'm really curious to see if her lover is going to come up. This warlord is going to come for a reading. That would be really interesting. And then based on his question, that could be really interesting. So I am going to make a note here, Queen Marian, and I'm going to just make a note so that I know this for later when we do our next one. As a result of the reading, she begins a love affair with, I'll say, the warlord. And I'll put in parentheses, Judgment, so I can keep an eye on that if that comes up. So it'll be right on the front page so that I can track that. So, y'all, that was our first attempt at playing a little bit of Auspex and playing with decks. So now let's do a little recap and chat about the Crafted Felt Tarot and the Woodland Wardens. I'm going to give some of my sort of final thoughts and as we kind of wrap this up. So, number 1, Crafted Felt. I keep calling it Crafted Felt. It's the Craft Felt Tarot. The Craft Felt Tarot is one of the things I love about this. This is by Gianna Lucci. This is an independent deck. I backed this one on Kickstarter, and I have been delighted with it ever since I got it. I love the glossy cardstock. It's a really nice, like, snappy stock. It's really easy to shuffle, as you hopefully could tell. It's got a lot of bend and flex. Feels like it's going to hold up. It's really bright poppy colors, but what I love the most, and you see it on camera, but it feels like at least as good in person, is that the images, because they were originally created out of craft felt, They literally pop up out of the card. I have seen, there's another felt tarot, I forget what it's called, out in the world. And that one has a very mosaic sort of way. It's all been pieced together. It's all very smooth and flat. And it's still really cool. But this is this just excites me. All this texture, all these layers. It looks like it's three-dimensional. It looks like you could feel the texture of the felt if you touch it. You can't, obviously. If only we had feel vision. Feel vision? I love the gumball machine for the Wheel of Fortune. And even though it's kind of Rider-Waite, it's very Rider-Waite-Smith, obviously, but it goes its own way in some places, like this lovers in constellations for the lovers card. And like rowing, like the boat is being rowed, but it's a different perspective. I really, really enjoy this. I think some of the takes on the cards are just really interesting and fun. I love the mirror and the sword for justice. That's a card that I often associate with accountability, or the word accountability. I love this Five of Swords, and how he's literally climbing on these people to get what he wants. Anyway, it's really clever. It's really good. And instead of a regular guidebook, you have a book of little haikus, little poems that'll just very succinct, but they get at the heart of what the reading or what the card is about, which is just so fun. It's a very well done deck. I love the backs. Really fun. So that is the Craft Felt Tarot. As far as I know, this is still available, but this is such a gem, and I love it. Woodland Wardens by Jessica Rue is such a great one, not only because it has the animal energy and the plant energy on every card, which is, it kind of hits both notes, but it doesn't feel like it's asking me to know anything. Like, it tells me everything I need to know in the guidebook, but also in the choice of the keyword on the card. So here we have dragonfly and pansy, and the word is balance. But if I go to the guidebook, it's going to explain exactly why dragonfly and pansy were chosen. It's not just like, oh, hey, here's a cool animal. There's a lot of thought and meaning that goes into it, and it looks like you're looking at these beautiful illustrations from, like I said, like a vintage book or something. And I love the aesthetic. I also really like the cardstock on this deck, and this one is mass market. It feels kind of like papery matte in a way that fits the deck really well. I love this Frog and Lotus, Metamorphosis. And I find that the little tidbits about the animals or the plants that I get in this deck teach me something, which I love, because if you've been watching my channel for a bit, you probably know, I don't retain information very well about animals and animal lore, but this deck makes that really, really easy, because it just teaches me one little bit, and the plant kind of helps tie it together, and then there's a keyword, like it's perfect. Like the porcupine and the anemone, and then its boundaries, like yes. So it makes a lot of sense. It's very well thought out. I love, love, love this deck, and have never regretted picking it up. And it's a solid one in my collection for sure. So there's my like sort of mini review of both. Putting them together was an adventure, and that's the whole reason I do deck roulette. But love both of these. Really enjoyed playing with them today. Again, I would love if you are watching and playing along at home and you decide to do a reading for somebody. Maybe you want to play the game with me. Maybe you create your own world, do your own reading, and just kind of play with me. You can, I will have a link to where you can get Auspex down below. You can get a digital version of this game really, really inexpensively. And it's basically got all the tables and spreads in here. It's a fun way to play with tarot, but also practice readings. So you could just do these like worlds and how they change over and over again. You could just continuously play. So lots of fun. I will bring this back, and this specific game back, when we play deck roulette again next month. But if you enjoyed this, comment down below. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me if you would have read for Queen Marian differently. Tell me if you would have interpreted, like, what do you think she would have done with the advice? I'd love to hear all the different takes. But in the meantime, thank you so much for watching. An extra big thank you goes out to my Unicorn Fam channel members. Thank you so much for your support of the channel. To everybody watching, commenting, thank you for helping me retrain YouTube's algorithm so we can see more content like this in our feeds. I would really, really appreciate seeing that shift. And until next time, may your magic always shine from the inside out. Bye.